Welcome in. It is Bassmaster Classic Week 2024. It's here. We're in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Grand Lake of the Cherokees is the host lake this week for the Bass Pro Shops Bassmaster Classic presented by Jockey Outdoors. I'm your host tonight, Ronnie Moore, for the red carpet, and it's going to be a great night. We're here at the Kane Ballroom. We're so excited to be here in Tulsa for the third time for the Bassmaster Classic. We have 56 anglers in the field. Obviously, we have our defending Classic champion, Jeff Gustafson. He is in his field trying to keep the Classic trophy above the border in Canada. Obviously, I went out today on the water, and I got to go out with our Angler of the Year champion, Kyle Welcher. He's getting nervously prepared for his Angler of the Year speech that he's going to do in just a little while during the Night of Champions. But without further ado, let's start the night. We're going to have a couple anglers and their wives come through, and we're going to ask them questions and get the night kicked off, get them a little nervous energy. They just finished their last day of practice. We'll have an off day tomorrow for media day, and then we'll start it Friday. So Brian Schmidt, our first angler up, and Brian, it's the Bassmaster Classic. We always say you can't win it until you're in it, and there's 56 anglers in it, and you're one of the names that showed up big time last year. How excited are you to be in Oklahoma at Grand Lake?
You know, last year we come really close, and I'll be honest with you, I almost tasted it, and it just really wanted me, it fueled me to get back here, and I'm here now. I'm one of the guys that has a chance to change my life this week, and we're very motivated, very glad to be here. It's an excellent lake. Can't wait to get after it.
Got to share a special moment with you last year, and it's not always the best moment, but somebody's got to win the Classic, somebody's got to get second, somebody will get 56th. Last year, no one thought Jeff Gustafson was going to struggle on the final day, but that door was open, and you were one of the guys who walked through, and you were right there. Has that moment replayed in your mind? Nobody wants to finish second, but boy, that's a spot that's right there at the goal.
Yeah, almost a million times, Ronnie. It's played out so many times because I got a really good bite late. I had no clue. You know, we all thought Jeff closed the door, but I made a poor decision. Hindsight's always 20/20. We learned from it. It fueled me. I had a really good year overall in points. We're here this week. We know what it takes to get it done. It's a 3-day event. Can't win it the first day, but you got to keep yourself in it.
I'll say this, you're a great grass fisherman. Have you found a blade of grass in Grand Lake? Because I don't think there's one exists maybe that's below the surface.
Negative on the grass. We have looked everywhere, but we did get some bites on some baits that are usually thrown in grass. So I feel good about that.
That's awesome. Ashley, it's Bassmaster Classic Week.
That's right.
Who's your pick to win? Who's going to win this week?
Brian Schmidt.
Of course, I like the confidence. You guys have a great night. Appreciate you joining us, kicking off the red carpet. Y'all enjoy it, and you got another day to mull it over. Figure out spot number 1 before Friday.
Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Brian Schmidt, one of the guys that we got to keep an eye on. He's won a couple Elite Series events. He's won a couple Opens. He is one of the guys that's a closer if he's on the final day in contention. We got some people elsewhere around here somewhere. I'm going to loop them in. Hey, Bob, Pat, why don't you guys come here real quick? I know you don't have your significant others. You can put it to the side, wherever you want. You don't have your significant others, but we got 2 guys from the Wisconsin-Minnesota range that are here at the Bassmaster Classic, and honestly, Bob Downey, Pat Schlapper, Grand Lake has treated Midwesterners, upper Midwesters, really good. Jay Shakurit's won as a co-angler, you've won as a boater. How do you feel about Grand Lake this week?
It's way different than when I was here for the Open. It's like 2 feet lower, so completely different lake, but I think whenever you come back to a lake that you've won on before, you kind of just feel comfortable, but it's been tough. But someone's going to catch them, so hopefully we can get in the right zone and put some good fish in the boat. But it's a cool lake. It fishes a lot like the river back home in terms of the rock and the wood. That's what we have a lot of on the Mississippi River in the springtime, so I feel comfortable doing that sort of stuff.
They always say Grand Lake's one of the best pattern lakes in the country. How good are you, or comfortable are you with patterns? Some guys are spot fishermen. If they find the spot, they can figure out how to catch them. Some guys are more comfortable finding the bait and running it across the lake. How have you balanced that this week, Pat?
I mean, I'm comfortable running patterns, but I think a lot of the time, especially in bigger tournaments, spots are what wins it. But this week I haven't found any spots or patterns, so I don't know what's going to happen. It's a really cool lake. I was really excited to get here and fish. It's the type of lake I usually do well on, but and I could do well on. Who knows? Cool lake, just a little tough on me this week.
Momentum's a real thing. When people get in the zone or get in the groove, they keep it going. It's hard because you guys all qualified for the Bassmaster Classic based on last year's performance, but you already had 2 Elite Series events. You know, you almost won the first one, and if you have a good one and a bad one, are you carrying good motivation, good, bad vibes in there? What's the deal? So how are you feeling after a really good first event to kick off the year, and then you guys had to go straight into the biggest slugfest we've seen on the Elites in a long time?
Yeah, it's been a tough mental state for me after Lake Fork. Those 2 weeks back to back and having a good event and then stumbling, it was kind of tough on me. But it's the Classic, and we're going to go try to catch them.
Bob, obviously, you've won here before. Do you have any kind of sense of the quality of fish here? Some lakes, when you get behind, you can protect the lead, like Knoxville for the Classic last year. You get a lead and you can hold on to it. Here, we've seen people come back from 6-7 pound deficits and win. That's scary when 30 pounds is swimming around somewhere.
Yeah, I think if you have like 13 pounds the first day, it might not seem like you're in it, but I think you're still in it on this lake because you can go catch it. There's 20 to 25 pound bags in this place. We saw guys do it in past Classics. You can make a big comeback here, which will make this event exciting. If you've studied past events on Grand, it's really hard to stay consistent day to day to day. So my goal is if I can get 15 pounds the first day or better, I feel like you're still in it for the rest of the week.
The guy who wins it on Sunday, does he know right now that he's on the fish to win it?
Ooh, I don't know. This week, I think a lot is changing. So I think somebody might have an idea, but I think somebody that has no idea, doesn't think they're going to catch him at all, could win this thing. It's getting warm. The fish are just moving so much. Somebody might think they found the mother lode, but they might be gone in 2 days. So this one's up in the air. Anything could happen.
Same question.
Yeah, I agree. I think it shows in past results. It's really difficult, like I said, to be consistent here. You might have only been catching 12, 13 pounds a day in practice, and all of a sudden some big females move into that area and you could catch a really big bag. So it's a Classic. It's kind of a neat event that you can just fish really free and don't have to worry about points. And I think that makes a lot of guys really dangerous too, because they're just out there fishing. I mean, it is a Bassmaster Classic, but there's no stress on points this week. So that makes it pretty cool.
And guys who maybe were in a slump to start the year in the 2 Elites, they do a good tournament here this week. It can set the rest of your Elites off good. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Good luck. Watch out for the Wisconsin and Minnesota anglers. Kyle Welcher, Hunter Welcher, Lincoln Welcher, come on through. You guys, I just spent all day with you. So I know, can I take 5 more minutes? Can I take 5 more minutes with you? But Kyle, we got the opportunity to fish together today. Well, I watched you fish. How did the final day of practice go? Did you check some boxes? Were you excited with what you found or what you crossed out?
You know, it's such a change day to day this time of year that the more time you spend on the water, it's just about retaining information. It's not really about catching in practice. It's just about kind of riding around and looking. And if you paid attention, the whole time we was driving, I'm steadily looking at the bank and trying to figure out what's going on. So I was pretty happy with how today's practice went.
I got a question for you. The last time Kyle was in the Classic, it was the closest Classic we've had in a long time. What have you seen from him over the last year, winning Angler of the Year, that tells you he can win this Classic?
I just feel like he works so hard. Like, I've never seen anybody work as hard as him. He fishes almost every day, pretty much every day, and I would just be so proud of him if he won.
That's fantastic. Kyle, what's the winning weight this week? You know, we know 25, we know possibly 30 is a deal, but we know 15 can get you by here. How do we balance that for 3 days?
I think it's going to be just shy of 60. I think 58 and a half, 58 and 3/4 is going to be the magic number this week.
Last question. You got a speech coming up. There's 3 people that are talking tonight. I'm talking on the red carpet. Dave Mercer's talking the rest of the night, and you got to come up and do a speech. You said to me today, how long should it be, and is it live televised? And I said 5 minutes, and it is live. So are you nervous?
The nerves are starting to ramp up. Like 10 minutes ago, I'd say no, but now It's starting to ramp up a little bit.
You'll be able to see Kyle Welcher's AOI speech on YouTube Live later this evening. Guys, thank you so much. Appreciate you. I'm supposed to stand over here, and the guests are here. They flipped the switch on me, but I appreciate you guys in the back. Let's go get, I'm not going to call them what they're dressed as, but there's kind of a matching suit to go with Luke Palmer's, and it's his cameraman, personal Aaron, Such, leave him alone.
He's trying to spell his last name.
Aaron, okay. We got Luke Palmer and Aaron. I'm not even gonna ask you. Script check. Okay. So we got Luke and Aaron. Obviously, if you've watched the movie Dumb and Dumber, I'm not saying you guys are dumb, but they look good on you.
I thought so. I mean, it's kind of special, you know.
When did it click? When did you guys decide to do this?
Well, a couple months ago, we were just hanging out, and it was like, hey, I said, you're going to the Classic with me last year. I said, hey, you're going with me. And it was like, what more fitting than, you know, we're not the most agile.
Well, you need the top hats and the tails to go with it. You know, the cane. I know you had a lot going on with two elites, but we got to prep a little better for next year. But Aaron, speaking of prep, you got to cover him, make the content that makes these guys' brands grow. Last year at Santee Cooper, he had something that helps your brand grow exponentially. He broke through and won the event. What was that like as someone who just grinds with him? You can't help him win, but you just watch and support it. And him to win an elite was amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, it was the first year that we were doing it full time together, and I think I was more wound up in the trailer than he was on that final day. Like Kyle, Dalton, they were laughing because I was like pacing. I didn't get any work done that day, even though he blew it out. Like the first few hours of that tournament on Championship Sunday, it was like I was fishing it, honestly. So it was pretty cool to see that all happen.
Aaron was so nervous he left the GoPros at the house. Moving past that. So Luke, we got to see you on Bass Live at Toledo Bend. Had a great top 10 to start the year off there. We go into a heavyweight match at Lake Fork the next week, one of the biggest weights we've ever seen in a tournament. Then we come to Grand Lake with unique practice. You get 3 days in your home state last week, and you get 2 days off. You practice today, and tomorrow's an off day. How do you balance the routine of an elite schedule to then going into the change constantly at the Classic?
You know, it's a mindset deal. It is tough. I mean, there is stuff going on. There's cameras. There's every night something's rolling. You know, you've got something going on. Media's getting a hold of you, talking to people, which is awesome. You know, I hope I'm in every single one of those. But you've got to stay focused somehow. And it does get hard. It does get hectic of what's going on. But you know, if you got the right people behind you, and to be able to sit down and say, hey, sponsors saying, hey, go do your thing. Don't worry about us. You're doing your job. That's what you got to have, and I've got that, and I've got a good support group back home anyway. So it's been a fun, stressful week for sure, because you know I want to catch them being in my home state. You know, I got a lot of family, a lot of friends going to be here, and I'm looking forward to that because everywhere we've been's been so far away, and only a select few have got to drive and come to it. So this week there's going to be a little Palmer crew coming through, so I think that'll be awesome for them. I'll be here.
That's what I was going to ask next was, you're in your home state. Not many people get the opportunity to do that. You know, in the home state this week is Jason Christie, Luke Palmer, and we can even consider Kenta Kimura. Even though he's from Japan, he makes roots in Oklahoma. You got a couple select few guys. It's never a bad time to win the Classic. But to win one on a lake that you probably, it's not your home lake, but it is the tournament lake of Oklahoma. Nationally, you know, semi-pro, everyone comes to Grand Lake. So there's a lot of history, and you got to probably fight off that history to try to win at home in front of everybody.
You know, lucky for me, I don't have just a ton of history up here. I haven't fished a ton because it's 3.5 hours from the house, and when I was working full-time and trying to fish, I didn't get to come up here as much, which I wish I would have. But, you know, when you drive 3.5 hours, you don't practice much. These boys at Grand can make sure catch them, you know, and this local derbies are some very good fishermen, you know, and then you got Christie. He swings in and jackpots every now and then, and he's pretty salty himself. But you know, I do have a little bit of history here, and I have been going back replaying some scenarios, and I have fished here in the spring, and luckily I don't have a lot of territory I need to be here, but it just takes 5 bites in Oklahoma, and all you got to have is 5 a day to get our trophy.
If you're thinking about fantasy teams and you haven't put Luke Palmer on there, you may consider it. I heard he had a good practice day today. We'll keep an eye on that. Luke, Aaron, appreciate you guys. Have a great Classic. Enjoy it. You're in Oklahoma.
Thanks, Ronnie.
We got some other guys over here that we need to get. push through for interviews, but Luke being on the short list. And I'd say, honestly, hey, Stetson, honestly, I'd say that this guy's probably on a short list too. 11 straight Elite Series Day 3 cuts for Stetson Blaylock. I didn't jinx it right there. I know that I have ultimate confidence in you, but it's the Bassmaster Classic week. And no pressure as well. Since December, when people ask who's going to win the Classic, I've told them Stetson Blaylock. You've been on a roll. This is not far from home. The style of fishing, the area. How do you feel about Grand this week?
It's Grand Lake. I mean, I love this place. I've had some good tournaments here. The Classic's different, though. So the Classic puts your mind in a different place. You know, you can't go. I like fishing for cuts. You know, make a check, see if you can do good, move on. But here, fishing for first, it's a little bit different. So I don't know what to expect. I think the guy that wins doesn't know it yet. And I think that's one thing that suits me well. My practice hasn't been that great, but I know what's happening. I know what's about to happen. And you just got to get in the right spot at the right time. You know, I think this lake is a good pattern lake, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run patterns, and hopefully I can land on the right one.
So tell me how you balance that pattern, because I was on the lake today. I got to see some water temperature disparities. You know, down the lake, it's maybe 52 to 54. Mid-lake, it's 55 to 57. And then I saw it as high as 63 this afternoon. So I got to sample all the water temps. It's hard not to find biting fish right now, but you don't want your pattern that you found on Sunday to die by the tournament starting. But you got to have a starting spot. So have you figured out where you may want to start Friday morning? And is that a growing pattern? Are you fishing where they're coming, or are you fishing where they currently are and you got to follow them?
Well, I didn't have such a good practice, so I feel like I've kind of tried to fish where I thought they were and got a few bites, but I also know where they should be going, and that's where I'm going to fish. I mean, I'm definitely going to fish new water, new areas that I feel like I go through them, it looks right, there's not anything there, I will go back and fish that, and there'll be fish on it. I mean, I know what's coming. I don't know if it'll happen this week, but it's going to happen enough where the guy's going to pull into some areas and get some bites he didn't expect.
There was a video up, I think Kyle Jesse did it. It was talking about the Classic Anglers bold predictions. And it doesn't seem as bold now because everyone was saying the same thing. And they said, I think it's going to be one on the bank or very close to the bank, things like that. We've seen a lot of technology influence it. You got a top 10 at Lake Fork, you know, and a good finish at Toledo Bend. How are you guys as anglers balancing seeing them on your graph versus it's late March and water's almost 60 in most places? They should be where they are.
Yeah, I think for me, I've learned how to fish without it. You know, I still kind of feel like I'm that 50-50 guy. I'm not looking at it much this week. I'll just tell you right now. I mean, it's exactly what you said. April's right around the corner. The fish want to be on the bank. I think it's going to change every day. Will I back out and try to find one if I need to? Absolutely. But I guarantee you my number one priority is going to be casting at targets.
Awesome. Stetson Blaylock, no pressure. Has been my classic pick for 3 months. Lock it in. We'll see how he does this week. Congratulations on a great start and a great, honestly, a year and a half of fishing.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Stetson Blaylock. Got another guy from this general region. I'd say Luke Palmer said he's 3.5 hours from here. I'd say Cody Huff's about the same, and he's a couple states away. So, Cody, Missouri's your home, the Ozarks, but then you spent 4 years of college on the Tennessee River. Grand Lake's kind of a good mesh of both, it seems.
Yeah, it is. You know, it's a lake I feel real comfortable on because it's rocky, you know. All those places where there's rock, and more rock, I'm kind of into it because a lot of people show up somewhere like this and they're like, it's just rock, but there's so many variations and differences, you know. It's just, it makes the fishery a lot bigger than most when there's that many subtle differences in it, you know.
So practice is done. We had 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then today was the final day of practice. What was your goals today? Some guys are desperate to still figure something out. Some guys are staying away from their areas and expanding. Some guys go and try to rule out a pattern. This is something that might be a deal. Let me see if I can do it. Otherwise, I cross it off. What was it for you?
You know, I kind of had like a little bit of a secondary pattern that I thought was really good. You know, hadn't done it much, and when I did, I caught big ones. So today I spent like my first 4 hours running that deal, and caught like 2 or 3 little keepers, you know. So at least I'm not going to bail on my plan A, you know, a little bit quicker than I might have. So I kind of crossed that out as, you know, we'll do it if we have to, but it's not the deal, you know.
How do you balance getting bites in the spring? You know, when you're fishing around the spawn and you start catching a bunch of small males, you're like, the females they got to be close. But on a rocky lake where they're not necessarily bedding, it's like, is this just the size fish in this area, or are those fish going to be coming in the next day or two? Is it got to get to 60? Is the temperature got to stay at 70 outside? What is the deal?
I think on a lake like this, it seems like they move in waves, you know. It seems like if you pull into an area and you're the first guy to catch that wave when they're coming, I mean, you can really get right in a hurry. But, you know, you might go, you know, 4 or 5, 6 different areas without ever even getting a bite. So it seems like you get in one of those little bitey areas where you've got some moving in. It's a good time to kind of settle down and pick them apart, you know.
You're a young guy. You're from the college series, but I'd say, what are you, like 26?
I just turned 27 this last week.
27 years old, but you fished in college. You were part of this youth revolution. You know, you won the 2019 college championship, and you're able to, you know, go to the Bassmaster Classic 2020. Or you won the 2018 championship. You won the 2019 bracket. You made the Classic. So you've won a lot in the youth ranks. Now you're kind of a veteran. You've been fishing high level for a little while now. What's it like seeing 19-year-olds win elites and 22-year-olds? And I'm 30, and I feel I'm older than the whole rookie class, basically. Like, you were a part of that revolution, though, and these anglers are young, but they're really hungry.
Yeah, that's right. I love to see it. It's one of those things that we knew was coming. You know, you just started to see it every year. It seemed like kids were getting better and better, a lot more time on the water, and it's just one of those things that's coming around, and it's probably not going to quit happening.
That's fantastic. Well, Cody Huff, appreciate you, man. Good luck. You're not far from home. We were talking about the youth revolution, and entering the interview room right here on the red carpet is the youngest Bassmaster Classic qualifier in the history. I think you turned 18 last week.
Yes, sir. March 15th.
18 years old on March 15th. Aaron Yavorsky from Florida, you won the team championship with your dad. You won the team championship fish-off to make the Classic. I know practice might have you uneasy, but it's still the Bassmaster Classic, and you're still the youngest to ever make this tournament.
Yes, sir. It's a crazy experience. You know, everyone that I looked up to my whole life, you know, in the fishing industry is here right now, and met so many new faces, new people. It's just been an amazing experience, and you know, even though practice has been a little tough on me, you know, I just can't be more thankful enough to be here right now, and we're gonna go see what we can do out there. But
you're one of the young guys, like we said. You're a kid that's embraced technology. You've really grown up in this era of it. But you're from Florida, so you got to have probably good shallow water instincts, and then you've meshed it with offshore electronics fishing. Grand Lake's kind of in that. It's got plenty of deep water, offshore stuff, but it's late March, and the water temp's close to 60, and it's probably pulling your heart like there's probably some 6-pounders up here shallow somewhere. How have you balanced that this week for your 4 days of practice?
yeah, you know, with the way practice sets up, it's kind of, we get a couple days to go at it hard, and then, you know, a couple off days. So these fish, I think they're moving around a lot right now. You know, it's March, it's springtime, and, you know, kind of been going offshore, kind of shallow. You know, there's a lot of fish here in Grand Lake that the bass have to compete with, I should say. You know, we got these paddlefish and, you know, white bass, all these different kinds of fish that, you know, eat the same bait. So I just think, I don't know if they can survive as good as, you know, they want to out deep. So, you know, right now, shallow has kind of been the way I've been leaning with the way this springtime transition's been going. A lot of fish, I think, are going to be pulling up. So we've been focusing in areas where the fish, I think, are going to, more or less coming from.
You said on a podcast with me and Kyle Jesse that your favorite Elite Series pro is Kiyoya Fujita. Obviously, you're mirroring your game off of that electronics-wise. He's been on such a hot streak. He just broke 100 pounds to win at Toledo Bend. Have you had the opportunity to say hey to Kiyoya this week at a boat ramp or somewhere else? And if not, are you going to do it tonight at the Night of Champions and be able to introduce yourself and say, hey, I know you've been on the Elites 2 years, but I'm one of your biggest fans?
Yeah, I haven't met him yet. I know his English might not be the best, but I'm going to go meet him here tonight, shake his hand.
What's been the coolest part? Obviously, the 3 days of the tournament coming up, catching your first keeper in the Classic would be something impressive. going through the tunnel, those things. But so far through practice and some of the meetings and stuff, what's something that you'll remember forever? Whether it's launching beside a Greg Hackney or something, what's something that you've had happen so far this week that you're like, that was cool?
Shoot, probably here right now at this Champions Dinner.
That's awesome. Aaron Yavorsky, 18 years old, came through the team championship in the Bass Nation. Congratulations, man. Enjoy it.
Thank you.
Super cool to see that. I mean, the dude's like half my age, and I'm not even old, and he's in the Bassmaster Classic. We got another guy who's pretty young in general, came from our college series, but he's also an Elite Series champion. Tyler Rivette. Man, it's the Bassmaster Classic.
Yep, it is.
You won an Elite last year. What would it mean to win a Classic this year?
Man, it's on the to-do list. It's the Classic AOI, and I mean, it's pretty crazy just thinking about winning a tournament. You didn't think you would do it that quick, and then now you're at the Classic. This is my third year, so I've learned a lot from the last two Classics that, you know, I was always just trying to catch that limit, and it don't matter. Nobody remembers second place on this tournament, so I'm going for the win, going for the 5 big ones or 4 big ones that'll give me the win. That's all it is.
Tell me about your progression. You were really consistent in college, but didn't necessarily have the wins. You made a bunch of brackets. You made every championship. You fished the Opens one year and make the Elite Series. Took you a year or so to get consistent on the Elites, and then boom, just like Luke Palmer, just like your boy Brock, get a win, you know, right at the right time in your life. Wins that, like, you know how to win now. Not saying you didn't know how to before. You know how to win. So now it's just 3 days for the Classic.
It is. You would think it's a little easier. It's half the field, and it's only 3 days instead of 4 days. So I was sitting in the boat actually today thinking, I'm like, man, all I need is 15 fish. Just 15 fish out this whole lake. And it starts making you, like, not run around as much. You know, you want to dial into one area and try to find those fish in that one spot because all you need is 5 4-pounders.
I always talk to you guys and say, what was that moment when you were a kid watching on TV, Bassmaster Classic, you know, when it aired on TV back in the day, or going to one in person that kind of was like, man, I got to fish this event one day? What was it for you?
So we actually have a camp on Lake Cotahuachi down in New Orleans, and I was there when Kevin Van Dam and everybody come rolling through the fog that last morning. We were sitting there, and all of a sudden you just hear a big rumble, and they just start popping out the fog, and it was the coolest thing. They idle right by you, start catching all the fish, and like I was a kid then, you know, I was like, oh, that would be a dream to do that, and here we are.
Well, there's probably going to be some kid sitting on a rock by the main bridge when you come rolling through this week and says, that's pretty cool. I'd like to do that one day. Congrats, man.
That's right. Thank y'all.
Tyler Rivette, he's one to watch. As we're going to be winding this down, we're going to have another stream for y'all on YouTube afterwards. You're going to see the Night of Champions. You're going to be able to see the Angler of the Year speech from Kyle Welcher, but we're going to round out the red carpet with Joey Cifuentes, another champion. It seems like we got champion after champion coming through. Joey, you're not far from home. I was telling that to Stetson Blaylock. He's from the Benton, Arkansas region. You're from the Clinton, Arkansas region. Grand Lake probably fishes a lot like some lakes around where we're from.
Yeah, it really does. It's similar to our kind of highland, you know, Ozark mountain lakes. Slightly different, you know, because it's got some more stained water, you know, than what I'm used to back home. It's generally mostly clear, but we do get into that. It's got a lot of similarities, but Grand Lake to me is really special and it's unique in its own way.
Not many people probably have experience here. I think 4 anglers have fished both Classics here in the past. That's Brandon Card, Brandon Polinick, Jason Christie, and Greg Hackney. Obviously, we had an Elite here in 2018 that half the field probably wasn't a part of. Did you have much Grand Lake experience here before this week of practice?
Yeah, I fished, I think 3 tournaments on this lake in the past, you know, 7 or 8 years. I don't come up here very often, but I do have a little of experience.
How does it make you feel when you're on a lake? Cliff Pace said this iconically in 2013, I don't mind fishing good lakes that are fishing tough. You know what I'm saying? Like, they got the quality, but it's tough fishing conditions. He was obviously doing that in the bitter cold February. I got a sunburn today out on the lake. It was 70 degrees, and the water temps at 60 most places, or it's getting close to there. It's a little different this time around, but you know 6, 7, 8-pounders are there. So even if you're not on them yet, that could be a thing on Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. I know where I'm going to be fishing is a good area, like based on history and my history and past tournaments. Like, I know they're there. Practice was tough. We had a lot of fluctuation in the weather, warm and then cold, and I think that kind of scattered some fish out. But it's going to get good, and there's going to be fish in people's areas that they don't have a clue are there, and they're going to catch some good ones.
This is one of the best fishing hotspots in the country. We saw it with how many people show up as spectators on the water, how they're going to pack the BOK arena for the weigh-ins. Is that factored into your game plan? I know Saturday was a practice day and there was a bunch of boats tournament fishing, just fun fishing. If it's 70 degrees Friday and Saturday and Sunday, there may be people out there fishing or watching. That's a lot to game plan for as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be a factor. I've never been in a tournament this size with the fans and the people out there on the water, but I can't imagine it not being a factor. I mean, getting in and out of creeks and maybe even like dirtying up the bank from the boat traffic, like you said. I mean, yeah, I'm not planning on worrying about that, but when it comes, I know I'm going to have to deal with it. And to win this tournament, you're going to have to make the right decisions dealing with that certain pressure from fans and stuff like that, and just the locals. I mean, the weather's great. You know, they're going to be out having fun. So.
Last question before we wrap it up. Joey, I forgot, it's your first Classic. You won 2 Elites last year, and I thought you've been around the Elite Series forever. Little Joey Cifuentes, did you ever picture yourself fishing in a Bassmaster Classic?
Not a chance. Not ever, man. I never dreamed of it. You know, I dreamed of being a professional baseball player, and so I had my sights on that my whole life. But I never dreamed of being on this stage. But I tell you a quick story. Me and Larry went to the Classic, and I asked him, I was like, Larry, I got to see this stage. And I don't remember exactly where it was. I think it was on Hartwell. And we walked up the stairs, and I seen the stage and the weigh-in and the fans screaming. And I was like, man, I got to do that one day. So it's really a blessing to be here.
Well, in about 36 hours, you're going to do it one day, and you'll be heading out from Wolf Creek State Park. Thank you so much, Joey. Good luck this week, and congrats on a great 2023.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Joey Cifuentes, one of our 56 anglers fishing the Bassmaster Classic for 2024. If you're not in Tulsa, Oklahoma, you better get here. The Bass Pro Shops Bassmaster Classic presented by Jockey is going to be one for the record books. The fishing's great at Grand Lake. The festivities in Tulsa are even better. We will see you in the next few days.